Oh my god. Finally! As many of you know, I am a massive Call of Duty Zombies fan. I have easily put 1,000 hours into the series as a whole. Maybe not one specific game, but between all of them, I have played just a ridiculous amount of time. This is one of my favorite series of all time, and I, like many of you watching this video, have constantly said, I think since like BO1, BO2, hey, we need a Zombies standalone game. This series is amazing, and it needs more love and attention, and we never got it. We never got it, and the series has slowly changed over time, and that just baffles me, but whatever, because somebody else said, fine, I'll do it myself, which is where we get Wales Interactive's Sker Ritual. Sker Ritual is a round-based survival game. 100%, the devs were trying to make their own version of COD Zombies. There's no other way to look at it. You have a mystery box. You have a pack-a-punch. You have perks. You have a perk upgrade system like in Cold War. This is the game that we have always wanted. And yes, I still would have loved to have gotten a actual COD Zombies standalone game, but the just sheer amount of enjoyment and excitement I get from Sker Ritual is unmatched. So let's actually take a look at this game and see what makes it stand out. I want to talk about, obviously, its connections to COD Zombies, how it kind of fits within that formula, but also I want to talk about the things that it does that feel more unique, like it's its own game. But I do want to start off with negatives because I really only have a couple, and none of them are really that major. Well, except for one. So let's start out with the big one. Crossplay is hot doo-doo garbage right now. There's no crossplay between PC and PlayStation, and I don't think there's any between Xbox and PlayStation. Like, I think PlayStation is just off on its own world, which might be a PlayStation thing. It may not be Wales Interactive's fault. I don't know for sure. But there's no option for PlayStation players to play with Steam and Xbox players. However, if you do have an Xbox and your friend has a PC, it's still not good. If the PC player is using the Xbox app, it's really easy to get into a game because the Xbox player, the PC player using the Xbox app can be friends through Microsoft and add each other. If you're using it from the Steam store, or I don't know if the Epic Game Store has it, but it probably does. I just haven't checked. There is no way to add an Xbox player to your game. The best way to do it right now is just to queue up at the same time and hope that you get in a game together. My good friend, the Suited Bird, and I decided we wanted to play some together last night, and we spent 25 minutes queuing into random games hoping to get in a match together, and we just couldn't. He was on PC, I was on Xbox. He did find some Xbox players, and I did find some Steam players, but we were never actually able to get into a match together. And that was kind of discouraging. And from what I've heard, they are working on it, and they're trying to fix it, and that's awesome. And this won't be an issue forever. But it does suck right now. That is like my big complaint of the game. And the fact that it's something that can be and most likely will be fixed, I think is great. I think that's a great problem to have. A couple other minor things, though, that I don't enjoy. The sound design really needs some touch-ups. I personally don't really enjoy listening to this game. I've mostly been playing with the game's volume off with just some music in the background. The gun sound effects could really use some improvement. They need just a little more punch, especially once the weapons have been pack-a-punched. And then the zombie noises are very repetitive, especially the banshees. I hate fighting the banshees. If you just have one or two on the screen, it's not so bad. But there's an Easter egg step on the first map where you have to kill 5 or 6 of them, I believe. And so there are a bunch of them on the screen at one time, and it's so loud and obnoxious because they're all using the exact same sound effect. Specifically, there's a scream, and it's the exact same scream every time. And when there's 5 or 6 of them on the screen, all randomly making that screaming noise at different times, it gets really loud and obnoxious. But again, I think a really easy issue to fix. Just lower the amount of times that they actually make that noise. Easy peasy fix. And then this next thing is just a personal thing. I am not the biggest fan of the aesthetic of the Faceless ones. And that's not a Sker Ritual issue on its own. This whole cosmic horror kind of vibe I love as a whole, but this subsection of it of kind of faceless people, I don't know why. It's not really my vibe. I love everything else aesthetically about this game, and we'll talk about it, but just something about the faceless ones I'm just not the biggest fan of. I wish they looked a little more zombies-like, but again, that's a personal thing that really does not hinder my enjoyment of the game at all. And lastly, on this section, just for proper expectation management, this game looks really, really good, but Wales Interactive is a very small team compared to Activision, of course. So visually, it doesn't look as good, it doesn't look as clean or as polished. Not necessarily a bad thing, because Sker Ritual still looks really good, just not as good. But that, again, that's not a bad thing. It's just different. Really, those were all of my issues with the game. Everything else is amazing. So this is a round-based survival game, and it is so good. It is so fun. The furthest I've made it so far is round 32 on the first map, and I think on my second or third try, I was actually able to complete its main story, which was crazy. I was really expecting it to take me quite a few tries. Oh, especially when I got to that final Abraham fight. I did not have a revive token. I was just kind of going through the motions, and I was like, I'm sure there'll be one down there, because there are revive tokens you can buy literally scattered throughout the whole map. And I was sweating. I was sweating that entire match. But I got him, and that felt so good. It was challenging, but I think just the perfect amount of challenging where, I was able to beat it without having to retry it over and over and over again, but it still felt worthy of my time. It wasn't so easy that I just, did it. And that's what I love about this game, is because I think it's really approachable for, obviously, Call of Duty Zombies fans, but also people who've never played the game before. As much as I love COD Zombies, it really does have a skill gap issue where you just go in and the game does not really help you much. It got a little better, especially with Cold War, where it would kind of walk you through the steps of turning power on, but the community has always been about finding those Easter eggs and solving the map on your own, and that is so great for the section of the community that loves to do that. But not everybody does like to do that. Some people want to go in and play the game and be told what to do. They don't want to have to learn Morse code or have to go to a special website to figure it out. They don't want to have to watch a 40-minute tutorial video to know how to do the Easter egg, right? Which, again, there are players that love to do that, but again, not everyone does. And I think Sker Ritual handles that a couple ways. So, one, there's 5 different difficulties you can choose from, which I think is amazing, because Zombies players of any skill can jump in and enjoy this game. 2, it appears that each of the maps have a main story that has all the objectives lined out as if you're playing the campaign of a normal game, and a secret Easter egg continuation of that you can do. I've only completed the first map's story, but it was really great. It had all of the steps laid out for me. For example, you find this room, and then you got to go find 4 cylinders. And then it shows you the general locations of the 4 cylinders. And, for example, there's one that you have to get by going and finding a coffin, which the markers tell you where it is, and then you get a message that says, go to the living quarters and use the lantern to find the code. And that you still have to do by yourself. So you have to, shine the lantern on different maps, or on different paintings, to get the code. And then you put the code in, you get the cylinder, it continues. So there's just enough of telling you what you need to do, but also letting you figure some stuff out on your own. And you go all the way through it with the game helping you and giving you these hints to the Abraham fight. Once you kill Abraham, you get a message that essentially says, yeah, you can leave the map now. There's a door where you could leave, finish, be done with the game, which I think is amazing. Or they like present this weapon. There's a little canister and you see this weapon like floating around, and it's like, you could continue the story, but you're going to have to figure that out on your own. And I love that because I think by doing this and having the 5 different difficulties, it appeases to both sides of the round-based community. I think everybody is going to find something that they really enjoy, especially saying there's 4 different maps, and each map visually looks amazing. My favorite definitely is the first one. I'm not a big fan of the sewers one. It's okay. I've only played a couple games with it. I apologize. I should have looked at all the names before I got into this, but the sewer one is my least favorite. The Lover's Fortress, I think aesthetically is going to be my favorite. I'm just a little intimidated by that one because that's actually the one I played first. I think his name is Baylor, or the Gate Guard. There should be footage of here so you can see who I'm talking about. I apologize. You fight him to get through to the rest of the map, and then you have to fight him again as you're trying to destroy the generators. I barely got him the first time, and when I saw I had to fight him again, my heart just dropped, and I have not gone back to the map. I have not. But I'm really excited to play that one more, especially now that I've played the game more. I've learned a little bit more on how this game works, how it is like zombies, how it's not, and I'm definitely excited to really master that map and go through its story. So you have a couple other things. So instead of a mystery box, there is, I think her name is Lucky or Lucy the dog, which it works just like the mystery box. There are a bunch of different dog houses around the map, and you find the one that actually has the dog there. You spend your points, it gives you a random gun. Cool. Instead of chalk on the wall, there are these little like concession stands, I guess, that you could find with like 3 or 4 different weapons on them, and I really like that. I think it's a good way to feel like zombies, but also have its own aesthetic. And you find these little gun concession stands, and you get actual choice on what you want to buy, and sometimes they're okay, sometimes there's some really good stuff there. They do have a pack-a-punch machine. What I really like about this one is there's no, like, loading animation. You just put it in, and you immediately get the upgraded version of the gun, which I think is really nice, especially when things are really tight and you just want to pack-a-punch and go. I know for sure you can pack-a-punch up to tier 4. I have not actually pack-a-punched anything that far, so I'm not sure if there's a tier 5, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were, especially saying that the perks go up to tier 5 when you're upgrading them. Okay, so essentially within the game, there are 6 perks that you would get in COD Zombies. Quick Revive, which is now just the revive tokens, Juggernog, Speed Cola, Double Tap, Stamina Up, and Electric Cherry. Quick Revive, I haven't noticed any big differences just being the revive tokens, but essentially all of these perks work the exact same way that they do in COD Zombies. You get more life, faster reload, faster movement speed, faster fire rate, or an electric shock when you reload, which something I find really interesting is Electric Cherry, if I'm remembering correctly, you get the shock as soon as you pull the mag out. Shock and Load, Sker Ritual's version of it, you get the shock as soon as you put the mag back in, which I thought was a really interesting shift. I definitely prefer Electric Cherry's version because you get that defensive shock as soon as you pull it out, while with Shock and Load, you have to wait a second. So it's a little harder to use as like a get out of jail free card, but you just have to time things a little better. You can find these scattered throughout the map. All the terminals look exactly the same except for the little symbol that shows what perk it is, which I think is interesting. I definitely prefer COD's version where each perk has its own individual looking perk machine, but I still think this is nice, especially because they lay kind of flat. against the wall. They're out of the way, but they are shining, so they're still really easy to see and easy to find. I love that the revive token, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but that it has terminals spread in multiple places around the map. I think that's really nice. It's very user and player friendly. There are also ammo stations spread all throughout the map, kind of like in Cold War, where you can go buy ammo. A really, really nice touch, and it's pretty cheap. Like, for my tier 3 weapon, I think I was spending about 2,850 points, I think, if I was correctly. But I also had miracles that was lowering the prices of things, so I'm not sure how much it was exactly, which I think is a good segue to talk about miracles. Miracles are kind of like the field upgrades from Cold War, except every round is randomized, and I love that. So essentially, when you start the game, you have 4 pages of potential upgrades you can get, and each page has a different number of upgrades. I think it's, so page 1 has 4, then page 2 would be 3, 2, 1, if that makes sense, and they all are different rarities. As you play through the game, you get miracle points, which you can spend to unlock miracles, and these could be a variety of different things. So you get a field upgrade, kind of like in Cold War. Like, there is a frost one, and there's also an invincibility one. You cannot take damage for, I think what I had was 7 seconds. I think you can upgrade these, so you might be able to get a longer time on that. But that one was awesome, and I'm sure there's more. Those are the only 2 I've seen so far. But then you can also upgrade, something else you have is a health potion, but you can also upgrade that to give you other effects, like more speed or extra damage or whatever for a certain amount of time whenever you take it. You also have melee weapon upgrades, and then you also have random stuff that'll be like, oh, you get an extra 20% damage against undamaged foes, stuff like that. And as you're playing through, you can unlock more of them, but then you can also upgrade the ones that you have to make them better. And I think this is a really great way to make each match feel unique. I think this is what they were trying to go for with Vanguard zombies, but this just works so much better, especially because it just kind of happens throughout the match naturally. Like, you'll just get a random notification like, oh, you have a miracle point to spend. And what I love is when you're playing on solo, it just automatically pauses the game. You pop your miracle thing, no zombies running at you. I love it. I love a pause button on a zombies game. Love a pause button on a zombies game. Ooh, something I missed that I wasn't also the biggest fan of is your default knife. It feels kind of clunky to use at the moment, but you can buy other melee weapons. Like, I know for sure there's a hand axe that you can get to hit enemies with. I'm not sure if there's others. That's the only one I've seen so far, and that was actually really fun to use. I enjoyed getting to use the hand axe. But not the biggest fan of the knife, but it probably is better once you upgrade it a few times using the miracles. I know I mentioned not being the biggest fan of the Faceless one aesthetic, but everything else I love just so much. Shadows of Evil is one of my favorite zombies maps. Like, maybe, you know what? Yeah, I feel pretty confident. Number 2. You're not going to like what I'm about to say. My top 3 would probably be Die Rise at number 1, Shadows of Evil at number 2, and maybe Classified as number 3. I really love Classified. It's probably my favorite map in BO4. It was the one BO4 map that I just felt genuinely was an upgrade from its original version. But I won't get on that tangent. Anyway, Shadows of Evil, one of my favorite zombies maps of all time, and all 4 of these maps give, like, Cthulhu, Old Ones, Cosmic Horror, Shadows of Evil vibes, and I love it so much. Another thing this game does is it comes with 4 battle passes that just come with the game. Each one is based off a different one of the maps, and you just pick which one you want to put your XP towards, and as you play through the game, you're naturally unlocking cosmetics that kind of fit the vibe of that map, and I think that's a really cool detail too. It gives players something to strive for, and I think that's really nice. Especially the masks. The masks are my favorite part because I really, again, the whole, like, faceless ones, or, like, you start the game with just almost like a bag with some holes cut onto your eyes. I really didn't like how that looks, but I've been able to unlock several other masks, and that's not really a problem anymore. Now, I'm guessing this will lead to them having some sort of in-game shop and paid for battle passes, but getting 4 right off the bat for free, or not for free, but just with the base game, is so amazing, and I think more games need to do this. Okay, I got on a little bit of tangent. I want to just go back real quick to the perks and upgrading the perks. I mentioned it was kind of like Cold War, where you, as you play through the game, you unlock materials that you can use to upgrade your perks, but it's not quite as in-depth. Instead of getting extra effects, it just makes the base effect of whatever perk you're upgrading a little more effective. Like Elixir of Life, this game's Juggernog, it just increases how much life you get when you purchase the perk. Or Fast Hand, this game's Speed Cola, just increases the percentage speed of how quickly you are actually reloading. So it's not quite in depth, but I still think it's really nice and still adds something for players to strive for. Now, this is something I know nothing of, right? So I'm not going to talk a lot about this. But this game also has lore. It's got lore. It's got a story. And it's something I'm really excited to look into. Again, I'm not going to talk about this really any much longer because I literally know nothing. But you know me. You know me. I'm a lore guy. It's something I love. And is something that's going to keep me interested longer. Especially because this is a continuation of another one of their games called Maid of Sker. Maid as in like a housemaid. And that's one that I got from Xbox as part of Xbox Live Gold like years ago. And I've never played. And now I might, just because I'm interested in the universe and the story that they're telling here. The last thing I want to talk about and what I really love is the power-ups. We get a couple from COD Zombies, and we get a couple that are unique. So there's Sudden Death, which is insta-kill, max ammo, and then instead of double points, we get triple points. And then there's also a Safeguard, which I'm not sure if it makes you completely invulnerable or just lessens the amount of damage the enemies do. I haven't actually paid attention to my health when I had it. And then there's also Half Price, which cuts the price of everything. So kind of like Shopping Spree, but not quite as big of a jump. Half Price is my favorite, especially when you're trying to pack-a-punch past like tier 2. In the Cursed Lands of Lavernock, I know the name now because I've been looking at the game as I've been making this review to double check that I got everything I want to talk about. The Supercharger, or Pack-a-Punch room, is a great training spot. So it was fantastic, just like running around, training, killing zombies, making points, hit a half price, supercharge. Such a good power-up. I think my favorite of the whole game. But I think that's everything that I really, really loved about it. So now I want to talk about just a couple things that I'd really like to see them add throughout the game that just isn't there right now. Definitely more maps. I would 100% pay money to get more maps for this game. More weapons would be really nice. The weapon pool is pretty good, but I think it could be just a little bigger. But the really big thing that I always wished from a standalone zombies game that we didn't get from this game was the ability on solo or local play to save a game, quit, and come back later. Round-based survival zombies games like this are so fun. But when you want to do long, high-round attempts, you could be playing for 8, 10 plus hours. And yes, you can always pause the game and go to sleep and come back. What if you get kicked, especially if this is an online game, you're connected to the servers? What if you get kicked for inactivity? What if your power goes out? What if, like, I have cats? Now, you might say this isn't something that can happen, but I know it can happen because it has happened. What if my pets step on my controller and accidentally quit out of the game? There's just so many little what ifs, or also just the fact that, like, I don't want to leave my console on for 8 hours while I'm asleep. So it would be really nice if you could just save the game, close it, and come back later. I think that would be a really, really great addition. And I understand why maybe that's not the best idea on multiplayer, but definitely solo. Come on, Wales. Let me save my game, please. So just as kind of final thoughts, this game is not perfect. Like I said, we talked about some issues. It's a small team, definitely can use some quality of life upgrades, but it's really good. This is 100% the game that we've always wanted, and I really think the COD Zombies community is going to latch onto this because we've been wanting it for so long, and some small company came and gave it to us when Activision couldn't. Come on! But I hope this is an eye-opener to Activision. Not that necessarily we need a standalone COD Zombies game. It would still be pretty good, though. But I just hope it opens their eyes enough to put some more development time into COD Zombies, because the round-based community is still here. We still care about this game. We still care about this mode. And I really hope that we start getting more round-based stuff in the future. But you know what? If they don't, we have Sker Ritual now, and it is amazing. I would give this game a solid 8 out of 10, but with the potential to be a 10 out of 10 with some of the updates and stuff that we've talked about today. I feel pretty confident giving this game my recommendation. I would recommend you buy this game. But if you want to try it out, there is a demo available, I think, on all platforms with the first map. You get the whole map as a part of the demo, and you can play it completely for free. However, it's only solo. You cannot play multiplayer, and I don't believe any of the XP goes towards the Sker Pass, but I could be wrong on that. So just something to actually keep in mind. But I've got really high hopes for this game. I've got really high hopes for future content. I've got really high hopes for lore. Who knows? Maybe I'll make some lore videos. I don't want to promise anything, but we'll find out. I'm kind of hyper-fixating on this a little bit right now. But 100%, you know I'll be watching 8-hour-long lore videos if somebody makes them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Also, hit that subscribe button, or the Faceless ones will come steal your dog, or cat, or turtle, or snake, whatever pet you have. And you don't want to know what they do to them. Goodbye, everybody!